Hi, my friends. How are you? I'm so glad you're here. Today, I really want to talk about what perimenopause has looked like to me and why I feel it's important to be aware of your body. Just my story. So, I say this with no medical knowledge, no degrees, just me and my story. But I do feel like it's important to talk about because there are just so many doctors out there that were not taught a lot about perimenopause and menopause, that don't specialize in it, and that sometimes just want to put a band-aid on whatever symptom or thing that comes up instead of actually finding what lies below and where it's stemming from, right? I think that this is changing for sure, and perimenopause and menopause is becoming a bigger and bigger conversation. I am so thankful because women have literally been going through this since the start of time. So, hello, science, let's get with it, right? I also don't say this, just putting this out there to knock down doctors. However, it is time to start treating women with the science they deserve, and that is freely given to men already. Okay, with all that said, I want to give you a few examples of what happened during perimenopause for myself, what have happened to some friends and family members that have gone through this. And I want to do this as just a way to remind ourselves to do three things. One, listen to our bodies. Two, trust our bodies. And three, advocate for our bodies. And all of these are so much easier said than done. And I say that from personal experience. So I'm going to start when I was in my early 40s because that's when the first symptom came. I started having depression. I had no idea why it was happening. I didn't know what was going on. I was in a pretty good spot overall. There was some stress and my life had completely changed, right? I got married in my late 30s. All of a sudden, we had two little girls full time that I've never had before. So, yes, a lot had changed, but it was also everything I ever wanted. And then, boom, I was depressed. And I'd always been really good at adjusting. I've never been good at dealing with my stress until after this, but I was really good at getting through it, right? Really good at getting through stress. But when that depression hit me, I was struggling. I was struggling. I was super short-tempered, sorry. I mean, I do have red hair, so I say, it builds and builds and then you better watch out. But in general, like it was so short. So it could be like 1 minute after the next. I would be fine and then I'd be so emotional, so mad, so whatever it was, so sad, like very, very short emotionally, short-tempered. I started fighting with my husband more, and I will say it was never necessarily about us, maybe like how we communicated, but it was always usually about the toxic biomom that was constantly messing with us and the girls, but we were fighting. No, nevertheless, we were not communicating. And then I was getting so emotional. Part of the reason why I wasn't communicating is because I was just getting so emotional. I couldn't even get it out, right? So I've told you this in the past. If you've listened to me, if you haven't, here we go. Here's the story. I knew I had to find help and change. And there was one moment specifically that this happened. I can remember it to this day. I can feel it in my body until this day. So my husband and I were fighting. I got so mad. I had my phone in my hand and I just slammed it down as hard as I could. Yes, the phone broke on the island and I just saw red. Like I felt red. I felt red. I saw red and it took my breath away. And I knew right then and there, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live not communicating, being this emotional, being this stressed out, being this depressed. I don't want to live like this anymore. Also, now as a Reiki master, excuse me, I know my body was 100% telling me I needed to help my root chakra because the root chakra is the color red and it's based on security and safety. And it was obviously very, very not healthy. So just putting that aspect on it as well. I then had to go through a few doctors who literally would not believe that I was depressed because I got out of bed and worked. I remember sitting down with one. A therapist actually is one of the doctors, and she's like, okay, well, you work out, check. You get out of bed, check. You go to work, check. You take care of your family, check. No, you weren't depressed then. Like a qualification for being depressed is not getting out of bed and living your life. Like WTF, right? WTF. I finally went to my mom's doctor, who was already helping her with depression, and she helped me. However, not one of the doctors I went to, not even one, asked me about perimenopause. So I didn't think about it. I didn't even know about it. And so, yeah, my mom was being treated for depression. But guess what? Not her whole life. It hurt her around her early 40s. But we never talked about that. And guess what? My grandmother had depression when she got older as well. We never talked about that either. So, when your body starts and goes through perimenopause, your hormones fluctuate so much hourly, daily, monthly, seasonally. And with drops in estrogen and progesterone, guess what happens? Depression, mood swings. I mean, the list is so long from insomnia to weight gain, and that can make you even more emotional. Because I don't know about you, but if I don't get enough sleep now, not when I was younger, but now if I don't get enough sleep, basket case, emotional wreck, like not good at all. So I can't imagine what would have happened or how I would be mentally right now if I hadn't kept showing up for myself, if I hadn't kept advocating for myself to get on that depression medication. Because when I got on that medication, I was actually able to look at my life from a new place, a less emotional place, and actually see the next steps I had to take. When I was in it, in the depression, I couldn't even see in front of me, say nothing about the next steps. I was just like, minute by minute surviving in survival mode. But with the medication, I could take some breaths. I could be like, okay, what is my path here to a happier life? And I don't think I would have found that path if I wouldn't have been on medication first. Not that medication is for everybody. Again, just telling my story, my story. Um, I will mention also that I'm not on medication now. It definitely saved me, but I now take 5-HTP supplement. I take vitamin D, especially in the winter. I get in the sauna. I learned how to nurture myself in so many different ways with so many different tools. And if I didn't learn that, I would definitely still be on the medication because I have times where depression washes over me. But now that I have the tools and I know what to do, I don't need the medication. But that again is just my story, not everybody's story. So depression was the first real symptom that I felt. The next big system I got was weight gain. Now, I've struggled with weight gain like many of you, I'm sure, my whole life. I was definitely a chubby preteen. I look at those pictures, I'm like, oh, poor girl. Chubby, chubby preteen. But then my hormones changed. I also got into competitive horseback riding and I dropped a lot of weight. I was healthy, I was strong, I was all the things. Then in my early 20s, after a very, very hard breakup, I gained some weight back from sadness. And that's when I started emotionally eating for sure. Um, I couldn't control anything that was going on in my life. And I just felt so emotionally awful that, again, I was eating to push down the emotions, to have some kind of control. The emotional eating started. But then, because I ignored so much in my body, I got Crohn's. And then I lost too much weight. So, like up and down, up and down. So I lost way too much weight, way under 100 pounds. And then I was put on prednisone for the Crohn's and gained way too much weight. I gained like 60 or 70 pounds. Like unbelievable. And then I turned 30. So that was definitely a roller coaster, right? It was. It was a complete roller coaster. I will say in my 30s, it was basically okay, like gain a few pounds, lose a few, not real big. I knew like a quick diet or working out more, working less, and I would be okay again. But then I hit my 40s, right? And I started gaining. And at first, I did some pretty extreme dieting, and it worked. But eventually, that weight came back because I can't do extreme dieting forever, or I can't because why would I want to? And I just kept gaining. And I will say, like, ever since I started horseback riding in my teens, I found out that I really do enjoy working out. So I've always worked out. I've ate good. I like healthy food. That helps. And so in my 40s, I'm still working out. I work out like 4 to 5 times a week. I'm still eating well. And the more weight I gained for a little while, the more I was emotional eating, especially in those early 40s when I was fighting with depression as well. So then I was depressed and I was overweight and I was emotional and it was not fun. And I have the family I want and have wanted my whole entire life for the first time. But then, like I said, got help with my depression. So I learned how to stop eating emotionally, but I was still gaining weight, right? This made me feel like a complete loser. Like I failed, like I could try the diets and they weren't working. I felt awful. And I literally had no idea this was because of my hormones. Still no doctor. Like you go and do your yearly checkups and my weight's going up and up. No doctor. No doctor through any of this asked me about perimenopause. Pretty crazy. Then the third major symptom I got was headaches, like all the time, like almost every day. I was tracking them and I was getting them at least 4 to 6 days a week, and they were awful. So, I asked my doctor, like, what's going on? Didn't know. Never asked me about perimenopause. I went to the eye doctor. I'm like, maybe my eyes are changing. Nope, they're okay. I went to a sinus specialist. Nope, my sinuses were fine. Then my doctor started testing me and my blood for like thyroid issues, this, that, nothing. And around this time, I started to hear about perimenopause on podcasts. It was starting to be a little bit better about talking about it. So I'm like, well, I asked my doctor to test my hormones. So they did. They were a little off, but in the normal range. So I was fine, they said. But I kept thinking, like, normal for who? Because I've never been tested before. So maybe they were, like I really recommend, and I know that everybody can't do this, but to start in your 20s getting your hormones tested so you can see when they go up and when they go down. And even if you do it once a year, like you can start getting a sense of what's going on with your body and what is normal and what is not normal. But like I'm in my mid to late 40s getting them tested for the first time. I don't know if that's normal in general or normal for me. So I just really then, like, this is it. These headaches are awful. I jumped into the research because that's what I do, right? I jump into the research about hormones, about perimenopause, all the symptoms. And I started to realize that yes, the depression was perimenopause. Yes, the weight gain was from perimenopause. And I just knew, I knew the headaches were too. Now, my periods had been spotty for a couple years. That might be TMI, but like we're on a podcast for perimenopause, so I figure we can handle it. um, they've been spotty for a couple years, like growing to 45 days or more apart. Last spring, they stopped for a couple months, like completely stopped. I had it, like, hadn't had one for over 2 months. And I all of a sudden started having hot flashes and night sweats a lot. But guess what? My headaches stopped completely. I know my headaches were because of my hormones. I know it. So that summer, I ended up getting my period. This last summer, I got my period back. The hot flashes and the night sweat stopped. Luckily, my headaches did not come back like they did before. They are far and few between. Now, I know a lot of other people, including my mom and Graham, right, who had the depression and had the weight gain and had all these other things. Um, I know people who had symptoms like rashes, fatigue, and not just like I'm tired, like I'm so tired. The low sex drive, the memory and concentration issues, body odor, definitely. Heart palpitations, bloating, gassy, GERDs, like getting stuff back up your throat. I mean, there's just so many. And I know several people who have been to several doctors and several specialists trying to figure it out when maybe it was hormones. They could have gotten hormone help instead of feeling like they are crazy just because they can't figure it out. Feel like they aren't being heard or believed, and like we should just deal with it. Because those are all things I felt as well when I was going through this. So I'm saying all of this and sharing my story because I feel so strongly that we should learn how to listen to our bodies. I know in the past I've had put my discomfort, my disease down, like pushing it down, like it was something I had to get through, and did not listen to what my body was telling me, and that so hurt me in the long run because our bodies are trying really, really hard to tell us what's wrong, to give us the warnings. So taking the time to listen is key and the first step. And this could just be like taking 5 minutes every day to close your eyes and breathe and feel inside of you. It could be recording or journaling or tracking what our bodies feel like and what our symptoms are. See if they come at certain times of the month or just when things are stressful or just when we're happy. Like, when do these happen and how often? And in that process, we have to trust our bodies are telling us something. So we have to listen and we have to trust. It's not just something that's happening, it's absolutely something that is happening. And I trust my body to tell me so I can find the cause and not just a band aid. Band aids don't work. And lastly, it is to advocate for yourself. Ask for more than one doctor what it is. Ask it multiple blood tests. I mean, these are all if you can. I know health insurance can suck. I know things cost money, but if you can, ask for more than one doctor about your symptoms. Get multiple blood tests, even if it's just yearly. Believe me, trust what your body's telling you and advocate for it. So I say all of this, which is so much love and compassion, because I truly feel we're going through so much with so little help. Even understanding makes us feel better and less crazy and less what they used to say hysterical, right? Can you imagine if we knew now what we knew, if we knew back then when they called us hysterical, what we know now about perimenopause and hormones in general? How many women would have had better lives? Not put into like psychiatric hospitals. Wow, I said that crazy. But not put into those kind of hospitals, right? Not suffered alone, not raised a family while going through all the symptoms and feeling lonely and depressed and not right, emotional. Like, it blows my mind. And so I do love that this narrative is changing. I love that science is catching up. And I absolutely love that this is the conversations that we are having. And that is why sharing our stories help, because the more we share our stories, we learn we aren't in this alone. There are so many other people going through what we're going through at some level. There are other people out there that want to help us. There's other people out there that have answers for us. We have to share our stories. And that is such a huge reason why I started this podcast. So please, please listen to your body, trust your body, advocate for your body, because you're so worth it. You're so worth it. I want you to soar in this season with me. We can only do that together. So definitely grab my hand. Let's soar in this season. Let's share our stories. And remember, I love you. I will talk to you soon.